I, excuse me?
Who, what, how, why, when?
Okay. Hey guys, Blue Knight here, and I want to quickly talk about the fact Toys for Bob announced this past week that they're going independent, and they're breaking away from both Activision and Microsoft. 3 to 4 months after the Activision acquisition was finalized, and almost 20 years since they were last an indie studio when they were acquired by Activision in 2005. I know some time has passed since hearing this news, and I'm still kinda shocked that this even happened, as I don't think literally anyone's seen this coming, cause you don't exactly hear about this kind of thing every day. Yes, Bungie did leave Microsoft and then Activision, who are now acquired by Sony, but it's just a very rare thing to hear about. So to try and get a grasp on everything, let's rewind back to the start of the year, and hopefully try to answer any questions you guys might have in regards to the future of Crash and Spyro. As most of you are aware, 2024 has been a pretty bad year for the gaming industry, with layoffs hitting left, right, and center, from THQ Nordic's Black Forest Games to Sega of America, and now PlayStation, which includes Insomniac Games, after literally having to deal with a massive hack that happened just before Christmas. Yes, I'm still furious. But perhaps the biggest layoffs came from Microsoft, where they cut 1,900 jobs across the board, causing Blizzard to cancel a brand new IP that's been in the works for a few years, and cutting a good chunk of Toys for Bob's staff, which resulted in the studio's physical headquarters being shut down, while the team decided to temporarily switch to working remote, and we now know why. And it's kinda funny, cause I had just mentioned that all these layoffs could lead to brand new indie studios being formed, which is how Ori and Yooka-Laylee came into existence, and then Toys for Bob posts this a few hours later. I tell ya, the timing on this could not have been any better. So circling back to TFB's indie announcement, here's the full statement from studio heads Paul Yan and Avery Lodato put out over on the TFB blog page. We're thrilled to announce that Toys for Bob is spinning off as an independent game development studio. Over the years, we've inspired love, joy, and laughter for the inner child in all gamers. We pioneered new IP and hardware technologies in Skylanders. We raised the bar for best-in-class remasters in Spyro Reignited Trilogy. We've taken Crash Bandicoot to innovative, critically acclaimed to new heights. With the same enthusiasm and passion, we believe that now is the time to take the studio and our future games to the next level. This opportunity allows us to return to our roots of being a small and nimble studio. To make this news even more exciting, we're exploring a possible partnership between our new studio and Microsoft. And while we're in the early days of developing our next new game, and a ways away from making any announcements, our team is excited to develop new stories, new characters, and new gameplay experiences. Our friends at Activision and Microsoft have been extremely supportive of our new direction, and we're confident that we will continue to work closely together as part of our future. So keep your horns on and your eyes out for more news. Thank you to our community of players for always supporting us through our journey. We can't wait to share updates on our new adventure as an indie studio. Talk to you soon. That was a good bit to go over. Maybe not to you, cause it probably took me 100 tries to get this to sound good, so let's break down a few key points from all this. First, they want to return to their roots of being a small and nimble studio, basically before Activision acquired them and they were still working on licensed games like Madagascar. While the graphics haven't aged that well, it was a fantastic game for its time, and I still have my copy.
Now hold on there. This is the end of the line for you ducks.
Did he call us ducks? Get him!
Second, they're confident that they'll continue to work closely with Activision and Microsoft in the future. Just not on Crash Team Rumble, cause the final content update dropped back on March 4th, the day Season 3 ended, and it features a brand new 500 tier battle pass, filled with brand new items, as well as items from every season and event up to this point. So if you missed anything, it's all up for grabs, completely free with Crash coins disabled. Good news for all you MTX haters, despite it never being required in the first place. But seeing the game come to an end, though still playable, is kinda sad cause I do enjoy this game quite a bit. mainly for how different it is when it comes to online multiplayer games, which makes it one of my favorite games of 2023. Also Spyro, that's enough to make it onto any of my favorites list without question. But with TFB becoming an indie studio, we really should have seen this coming, and that they probably won't be working on Crash and Spyro games anymore, despite the studio exploring a possible partnership between their new studio and Microsoft. Which brings me to point number 3, and some good news for future Crash and Spyro projects, despite Rumble officially ending. This partnership, while they don't say what it would entail, they do give us a hint as to what it could be in these 2 lines of text. We're in the early days of developing our next new game and a ways away from making any announcements. So keep your horns on and your eyes out for more news. Obviously, the bit about the horns, it's clearly Spyro.
Keep your horns on, Spyro!
They're not even being subtle about it at this point. So I believe this partnership is going to allow Toys for Bob to continue to make Crash and Spyro games for Activision and Xbox while being able to pursue their own possibly original IP. It's kinda similar to how Insomniac Games simultaneously made Ratchet games for Sony as well as any other game they wanted for other platforms, up until the acquisition in 2019, where Insomniac is still able to make more Ratchet games. Though Insomniac created the Ratchet IP, Sony owns all the rights to it, so this would be no different between TFB, Crash, Spyro, and Xbox. But I'm so glad they're letting people know about this project in advance, so in the event it is Spyro 4, it doesn't leave the community guessing all the time, then nothing happens, and people get disappointed. That said, I absolutely loved all the work they've done for the Crash and Spyro series, whether that's giving the original Spyro Trilogy new life, creating one of the best post-Naughty Dog Crash sequels, and the best multiplayer Crash game ever. So I cannot wait to see what they've got in store both in and outside of these 2 franchises, especially if that means they can use all their creativity to make an entirely brand new IP, something we've never seen before, which I guarantee they'll knock it out of the park on the first go, whatever it might be. And because they're now an indie studio, they can do whatever they want when they want, despite not having the full range of resources that they used to have access to under Microsoft and Activision. But in addition to making a brand new IP, they could collab with other indie studios on projects. And from what I've seen, the indie space is very open to it. From ukulele skins in KO to a Hat in Time cosmetics in Among Us, heck, even the official KO the Kangaroo Twitter account is basically accepting of future opportunities. But I can see TFB also assisting other indie studios in helping get projects off the ground. One of the examples I brought up on Twitter that people seem to agree with is Chrome Studios with the Ty the Tasmanian Tiger series. It's no secret that Chrome doesn't have the same budget or team size that they had back when the first game came out, when the series was still being published by EA. They had around 20 to 25 people on the team. Now that they're an indie studio with only about 12 people on the team as of 2020, it's taken them since 2016 to get every Ty game onto every console and PC, with the exception of a third game still stuck on PC for whatever reason, and Ty 4 not being on PlayStation or Xbox yet. So to make a full-blown Ty 5, they would need a bigger team, budget, and everything. If Toys for Bob chose to, they could help Chrome make Ty 5 a reality. Now TFB also has one other avenue, outside of their Microsoft partnership and newfound indie status if they decide to pursue it. And that's developing games that they pitch to or are approached by a publisher to make via a separate partnership. Yes, a studio can have multiple partnerships. Remember, before the acquisition, Insomniac not only made Ratchet games for PlayStation, but they also made exclusives for other platforms, namely Sunset Overdrive for the Xbox One. Then we've got Sanzaru Games, who was basically an indie studio before being acquired by Oculus a few years ago. They pitched a demo of Sly 4 to Sony, and it got the green light. while Sega outsourced their 3DS Sonic Boom games to Sanzaru, and I simply can't forget that Sanzaru also helped Toys for Bob with the Spyro Reignited Trilogy. Okay, imagine the Sonic and Sly examples, but Toys for Bob pitched to Sega a Sonic demo. Nope, not gonna go there, cause I'll probably ramble on for too long about how good it'll look. So, scratch that. Let's pretend Toys for Bob pitched a Sly Cooper demo to Sony. Could you imagine a Sly Cooper game, or at least a remake, with Toys for Bob's level of talent? That would be incredible. Though, depending on Sony's train of management over the past few years, especially in regards to older platformers, it could be a tough sell. And I was going to mention this as a positive, but unfortunately it's a bit of bad news. Because in the aforementioned layoffs Toys for Bob just went through, the lead artist on Sucker Punch's trilogy of Sly games, Dev Madden, was sadly hit with the layoffs too and is no longer with the studio. Even more since I was told that in September that he would love to work on Sly again. But here's the thing. I'm really hoping it's possible that him and any others that were laid off from the studio because of Microsoft can have their jobs restored since TFB is now an indie studio, cause that would be amazing news if it were the case. But going back to the Sly Cooper bit, what makes it an even harder sell is the fact both the Sly movie and the TV show are quite possibly cancelled at this point in time, and they might have better chances of Sony accepting a Jak and Daxter pitch over Sly Cooper, though TFB tends to stick to family-friendly games, and not counting the assist work on Call of Duty, which they're now free from, Jak is a bit outside of that wheelhouse, but there's no doubt they would do a fantastic job on it. Either way, since nobody seems interested in returning to these IPs right now, Toys for Bob would be the perfect fit, and honestly the only studio I would even trust with these series. Anyway, there's a lot of ways this can go in, and just as many unknowns. Whatever the case, I'm excited and I couldn't be happier about Toys for Bob becoming an indie studio, and I wish them the best on their future endeavors. But with that said, that's going to do it for this video. So what do you guys think of TFB going indie, and what would you like to see them do next, whether it's an established or entirely brand new IP? Be sure to leave everything down in the comments section below. Also be sure to subscribe and ring that bell for more Crash and Spyro content. And once again, I've been Blue Knight. Thank you so much for watching and for the constant support. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you guys back here next time.